everyone. My name is Perez. I'm the owner of Truview Inspections. Today, I'm going to be talking about the most known insurance deal killers and how to overcome them. Okay, at Truview, we believe that smooth closings are important, and I really take a lot of pride in helping agents get to the closing table and teaching them the tips and tricks of the trade in order for you to salvage your deal. Because let's face it, like being a realtor, you have a job title and you have a profession where if you just turn around at the first door that closes in front of you, you are never going to close deals and get to the closing table. You have to be aggressive. You have to be smart. You have to be crafty. I mean, I'm the type of guy that if there is a door closed in front of me, either that door gets opened or I'm knocking it down. And that's what we have to do, right, when you're a realtor. And there's this form called the 4-point inspection form. And this form is required by insurance companies. And actually, this form determines your client's insurance eligibility. So basically, it is a background check, I would say, of the home that basically determines whether the home is eligible for insurance or not. But here's the thing. This form isn't designed to find a way to help your clients get insurance. This form is designed to find a reason not to insure your clients. Okay. Now, the thing is that this form, there's a new form that came out in 2019. And previous to 2019, insurance company would only require a 4-point inspection form if the property was 30 years of age or older. Now, what happens is that there's so many insurance companies now that are asking for the 4-point regardless of the age of the home, whether the home is a year old, 5 years old, 10 years old, or 20 years old. And what they're looking for is basically for updates made in the last 20 years on the home. The way that I look at this form is like this. Imagine, for those of you that are married and for those of you who are single, right? Imagine if there was on the marriage, when you go get your marriage license, imagine on the marriage license application, if it required for you to put your partner's credit score, okay? If it required for you to put what they owe in debt, if it required you to write whether they snore or not, and all of the bad things that you wouldn't like about your partner, it would probably save some marriages, right? But it basically there to just we see what's bad and find a reason not to insure you, because the reality is that we do business in the high velocity hurricane zone, and the high velocity hurricane zone insurance companies do not want to insure in this area, but they're forced to if they want to cover the state of Florida. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we're going to get into the most known insurance deal killers and how to overcome them. So Kevin, can you grant me access to share my screen?
Yeah, give me a sec.
Okay.
I thought I had allowed that. Oh, is somebody sharing their screen? One participant at a time. Multiple. Okay, try it now.
Okay, here we go. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, so if you could see my the presentation, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, Kevin. You see it here. All right, thank you so much. Because smooth closings are important. I said it earlier. That's what we care about here at Truview. And let's dive right into it. Number one, electrical panels. Okay, so there's 3 brands of electrical panels that you mainly need to look out for, whether you're doing a listing, whether you're doing a showing and walking with a client and looking at a property. And those 3 brands are Federal Pacific, Zinsco, and Sylvania. Okay, and these panels are typically found in homes built between 1950 through 1980. So if you are showing properties and you are in a neighborhood where where the homes are built between this age, you have to take a look and see what brand that electrical panel is. If you're listing a home and your client thinks that they have the best home in the world, it is a great idea to go take a look at the electrical panel, because one of these electrical panels could prevent you from obtaining insurance. Now, the reason that this occurs is because these electrical panels have a bus bar in the back that's made out of aluminum. And then aluminum is known to overheat and could potentially cause a fire. But the thing is that these panels, say it was built between 1950 and 1980, it's been there for 30 years, it's been there for 50 years, et cetera, 70 years in some cases, and it hasn't caught fire. But the thing is that the insurance companies are reluctant to insure homes that have one of these panel brands because it could potentially pose a fire risk. Now, this is a Federal Pacific panel. And then on this slide, you could see the Zinsco and the Sylvania. And this is something that doesn't require a big investigation, but it could really save you a lot of time. Because imagine if you're walking with your buyers and you're walking throughout the home and you see the electrical panel, and now you're like, oh my God, those are one of the panels that Lewis told me about. Now that gives you an opportunity to talk to the listing agent and say, hey, look, I've been down this road before. These electrical panels we're going to have trouble getting insurance. So is there something that we could do about this beforehand in order to get this fixed for my clients to get insurance? Because the reality is that if your clients can't get insurance, they can't get a loan. And if they can't get a loan, unless they're buying cash, you're not going to be able to buy the house. But you know what? You know what blows my mind? The 4-point inspection form has a section, and I'm going to open it up really quick here. This is a 4-point inspection form done by another inspection company that was brought to my attention for second opinion and a second review. And what I'm seeing here is, let's go out to the electrical section. All right, electrical system. The 4-point inspection form has a beautiful little section here on almost every area that says general condition of the electrical system, satisfactory and unsatisfactory. And what I've seen by default is that home inspectors would automatically write unsatisfactory the moment that they see a Federal Pacific, a Zinsco, and a Sylvania electrical panel. And let me tell you what this is. The moment that you write unsatisfactory on that 4-point inspection report in any of the 4 points, that is going to cause your clients not to be able to obtain insurance. So the way that I see it is, yes, you do have a Sylvania electrical panel. Yes, you do have a Federal Pacific. Yes, you do have a Zinsco. But your question to the home inspector, if you ever see that unsatisfactory, needs to be, okay, hey, I understand I have a Federal Pacific, a Sylvania, and a Zinsco. What is causing this to be an unsatisfactory condition? What is wrong with the electrical panel that would warrant you to write unsatisfactory on the 4-point inspection report? Because just because you have a Federal Pacific, a Zinsco, or a Sylvania does not mean that it's an unsatisfactory condition. There needs to be something to warrant it for it to be unsatisfactory. Maybe it's the breakers are overheating. Maybe there's double taps in the panel. Maybe the breakers are tripping. But don't just sit there and accept an unsatisfactory on a 4-point inspection just because you got one of these brands. The way that I put it is like this. You could have coronavirus and be asymptomatic and no one knows anything, right? But guess what? If you're asymptomatic and you walk around the airport with the sign that says, I have coronavirus, you're probably going to get stoned, you know? So that's why it's the same thing. With the moment that you have that unsatisfactory, you're just waving that red flag saying, hey guys, look at my client's application. Yep, go ahead and deny them for insurance. And you don't want that because you want to get your client to the closing table. So whenever you have an inspection and the inspector tells you, hey, we have one of these panels that are outdated and needs to be replaced, your first question needs to be like, okay, oh, wow, all right, I understand that. Now, are you going to write satisfactory or unsatisfactory in the 4-point inspection report? And when they say, no, it's going to be unsatisfactory, really, can you please tell me why the electrical panel is in unsatisfactory condition? Are there breakers tripping? Are the breakers overheating? Is there anything going on with the panel that will make you write that? So make sure that you're always ready to defend your clients, because I always say like this: if you go to the mechanic and you tell the mechanic, hey, my AC wasn't really cooling that well this morning, and they'll see that you don't know anything about mechanic, you're going to leave there with a new alternator, with new batteries, and a new muffler probably, and a $2,000 bill to go along with it, right? So you got to know a little bit of everything, especially in the times that we're living in, because if not, people will just take you for a ride. And the last thing that you want is for an inspection company to take your client for a ride and prevent you from getting to the closing table. Number 2, cloth wiring. If you're doing deals in Coral Gables, in West Miami, in Westchester, North Miami, Cutler Bay on the east side of Cutler Bay, Whispering Pines area, all of these homes that are built between 1926 through 1965 have something called cloth wiring. Now, cloth wiring are insurance companies are hesitant to insure homes that have cloth wiring because the cloth wiring could tend to fray and then eventually catch on fire. Okay. Now, there's a thing here that we go right back to the 4-point. Okay. Number 1, if the home is built between 1926 through 1965, you have to expect that the home has cloth wiring unless the electrical system was updated. So if you're going to list a property, it is a great idea to either do a pre-listing inspection. And if you don't want to do a pre-listing inspection, which is perfectly fine, ask the sellers, hey, does this house has cloth wiring? Because what you don't want is to list a property, the home has cloth wiring, that inspectors find out, and next thing you know, your buyers are asking for a $20,000 credit because the home has cloth wiring. All right. But here's the thing. The cloth wiring is right here in the pictures that you see there. And this cloth wiring is actually in good condition. But cloth wiring tends to get eaten up by rats and possums sometimes inside the attic. And then the wire gets exposed. There we have a problem. Or sometimes it becomes frayed. You know, like me, I barely have hair, but I have two little girls and they have curly hair. So when they wake up in the morning, their hair is like all over the place. And then it requires me fighting with it, you know. But that's how sometimes the cloth wiring gets. But here's the deal. We go right back to this unsatisfactory on the 4-point electrical section. So just because you have cloth wiring, which the form asks you if you do have cloth wiring right here, it asks you the type of wiring. But next thing you know is the unsatisfactory or unsatisfactory condition. Satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So whenever you have a home inspection done and the home inspector tells you, hey, we have cloth wiring in this home, you need to be like, okay, we have cloth wiring, perfect. Number one, how much cloth wiring does a house has? How much do you see? Because you need to know whether you have $1,000 problem or a $20,000 problem, okay? Because if it's a $1,000 problem, you can take care of that very easy. But you do not want to let a $1,000 problem kill your deal and prevent you from making more money on the transaction, all right? And number two, then very key question. Okay, you have cloth wiring. Oh, okay, you see it throughout most of the house. Perfect. Are you going to write unsatisfactory condition or satisfactory condition for the electrical system on the 4-point? No, it's going to be an unsatisfactory because those wires need to be replaced. Hey, I understand that on your regular home inspection report, you have to disclose to the clients that these wires need to be replaced. It is the right thing to do. That's exactly what needs to get done. However, what is unsatisfactory about this cloth wiring? Is the wires frayed? Are they eaten up by rats? Do you see exposed wiring that's illegal? You can't just write unsatisfactory just because it's that type of wire, because the form isn't asking you that. It's asking you what is making it unsatisfactory condition. Now, here's another thing to beware. Not too long ago, we have a listing, and she's a broker, this lady's a broker, and she was listing her house. And another company went out and did a home inspection for her and told her that the house had cloth wiring, and the buyers backed away and walked away from the deal. So she calls me and says, Louis, can you do me a personal favor? Can you come to my house? Can you see the cloth wiring, see how much I have? I paid an electrician once to replace it. I don't even trust them anymore. Can you help me? So I went over there and I went to her house. And when I went inside the attic, I saw the cloth wiring. But here's the thing. When an electrician replaces cloth wiring, they do not remove the old wires that are inside the attic, okay? What they do is that they cut the old wires and then run new wiring, because the majority of the time, those wires are stapled to the bottom cord trusses. Are you with me? Now, here's the deal. When the electricians cut it, it's normally covered where they cut with insulation. So when a home inspector goes and looks inside the attic, they see the cloth wiring, they don't move the insulation out of the way. And this is what happened at that home. And next thing you know, you could see that the wires are cut, all right? But here's the deal. Home inspectors have this little tool that you see right here, or should have, all right? Let me just say should have. And this is called the ticker. And the purpose of this tool is when you have a wire, so here I have a wire that's connected to power. And when you grab this and you put it against the wire, you hear that noise? It makes a beeping noise. That is an indication that the wire is live. That's why we provide videos on our inspection reports. Because whenever we see cloth wiring, our inspectors are required to go and grab this ticker and put it on the wire and prove whether the wire is live or not live. In the case of this property that I went to for this broker that I worked with, the wires were cut. And when I grabbed the ticker and I put it on the wire, it didn't make any noise. So her buyers walked away from the deal. So she lost buyers on her property. The buyer's agent had to go out and find new homes for her clients, all because an inspection company failed to report correctly on the home inspection report as to whether the wires were live or not. So whenever you have a home that there's cloth wiring, there's one key question that I want you to take away here that you need to ask that inspector. And it's, okay, I have live wiring. Perfect. Is it live or not? Now listen, most of the time, if someone tells you, like my daughters, the other day, normally they have to put their shoes away when they walk inside the house. And I saw the shoes by the front door. So I asked my 5-year-old, did you put away the shoes? She looked at me and she said, and I knew she was lying. Okay. The same thing, if you ask a home inspector, is it live or not? And he didn't check if it was live, he's just gonna look at you and say, yeah. And you have to say, okay, can you please verify that information for me? Because look, here's the thing. It's not that you're being a pain in the butt. It's not that you're being annoying. Your clients are going to appreciate that you are involved in the transaction and working in their best interests. Because let me tell you something. If this home that your clients are under contract and they put $10,000 in escrow deposit, okay, and they've already like paid for a home inspection, if that home has cloth wiring and that cloth wiring is not live, and that deal gets torn apart because they can't get insurance because those wires weren't live, man, you didn't do a right justice to your client. And that's why it's so important that you are involved in the transaction and you say, okay, if it's not live, please, can you please prove it to me? All right. Number 3, we are going to get into polybutylene plumbing. So polybutylene plumbing, there's really not a lot of it here in Miami, but there's a lot in Broward, in Miramar, Pembroke Pines. And these types of pipes are typically found in homes built between 1978 through 1995. And you figure that if your clients are buying a home that's built in 1995, you're probably going to be like, hey, you know what? This is a good house. There's not going to be any issues here. I'm good. We're probably going to be in the clear. Let's go. Let's get this done, right? But the thing is that these polybutylene pipes are found in between 1978 through 1995. Now, the problem with these pipes is that they're made out of a plastic, rubbery flex material. But you see those arrows that I'm pointing at here on the slide? They have these copper rings. So when plumbers install these pipes, they put these copper rings in place and they have a tool that squeezes it. But with time, the plastic that's underneath these copper rings tend to dry out. And next thing you know, water starts leaking all over the place. All right. And those are the issues that occur with these types of pipes. Now, here's the thing. This is a supply line, meaning that there is constant water pressure at all times unless you shut off the water at the main water valve or the meter. So if you ever have a leak occurring from polybutylene, then this is an issue that it's just going to run and run and run. And you get home and you get home from work and you see water coming out your front door and you're like, oh my God, what just happened, right? So that is the risk of them possibly leaking. Now, that's why the insurance companies do not want to insure homes that have this. So normally, if you're put in a position where the property has polybutylene pipes, there's one of few things that could occur. Number one, they're just going to deny the insurance and say, you know what, we don't, Citizens does not want to insure any homes with polybutylene. Number two, they'll say, the underwriter would say, okay, look, we're going to insure the home, but we're going to put a high deductible. Maybe I've seen $15,000 deductibles for water loss. Or number three, there's something called exclusions on insurance policies. The insurance company could say, you know what, we will insure you, but we will exclude any type of water loss. And let me tell you something, this is why it's so important that you work with a trusted insurance agent. The same way that you need a trusted mortgage company, a trusted title company, a trusted inspection company, you need a trusted insurance company, because the insurance companies offer exclusions for certain things. So let's say that you did have cloth wiring in unsatisfactory condition, or you did have a Federal Pacific panel and you couldn't get insurance for it. You need to talk to your insurance agent and ask them to get you exclusions, because many times insurance companies will issue 30 to 60-day exclusions that you will close. They will exclude that area from the policy. Then your clients could make the repairs, get another inspection done. You submit that paperwork to the insurance, and now you could include the plumbing, include back the electrical. So work with an insurance company that you trust. Now, back to the poly. There's one thing that I've seen many times, and I've seen it on different home inspection reports, where deals have been killed because inspectors have failed to notate something. So polybutylene pipes is unacceptable, but there's another pipe that's called PEX, and it's right here. That you see, it looks almost identical to the polybutylene, just that the color changes. So the polybutylene pipes are always gray, as you could see right here. And here in this home, as you could see, this is PEX pipe that's red, blue, and there's even some pipes that are clear colored. All right. So if you ever have an inspection and the inspector comes and tells you, hey, we have polybutylene pipes, your question needs to be, wow, okay, please show me a picture, and let them show you a picture. And if you see that gray pipe, you're like, okay, we got poly, understood. But if you see red or blue, you could confidently go and tell the inspector, wait a minute, this is not poly, this is PEX. And PEX is acceptable by the insurance company. I have seen properties where we've inspected and the deals have fallen apart because they were unable to get insurance. And when the clients or the agents call us to schedule, they say, hey, can you please pay special attention to the plumbing because there was polybutylene there. And we've gone to the home and seen PEX instead of polybutylene. So do not let your deal get torn apart because someone failed to identify the material that the building was made from, okay? Let's move on to the next one, number 4, single strand aluminum wiring. Now, this single strand aluminum wiring is commonly found in homes built between 1960 through 1978. Now, you get a lot of this in Tamarack, you get a lot of this in Broward. There's really not a lot of areas in Miami that have this single strand aluminum wiring, but as realtors, you got to go where the money's at and you're going to go do deals wherever it is, right? Now, there's 2 types of wiring. There's single strand and multi-strand. Insurance companies do not insure homes that have solid aluminum wiring, single strand. As you could see here that I've circled and I've shown you here in the bottom, the solid. The stranded aluminum wiring is acceptable, okay? Now, if you do have single strand aluminum wiring, there's really nothing that you could do there. The house needs to be rewired. But if an inspector tells you, hey, this home has aluminum wiring, you need to automatically ask that inspector, okay, perfect. Is it solid strand or multi-strand? And if they say, no, it's solid strand, you need to see a picture. Or maybe they'll say, oh, no, it's multi-strand. Well, there you could say, no, wait a minute. Multi-strand is acceptable because on the 4-point inspection form, they only consider a hazard the single strand aluminum wiring. And you probably ask why? Why is that a hazard? Well, that's because the wiring, the single strand aluminum wiring cannot disperse the heat as well as the multi-strand aluminum wiring. Now, copper is always better, but when you have all those multi-strands, it could disperse the heat a lot better and the wire doesn't overheat, therefore not causing a reason for the electrical system to fail and potentially catch fire. So whenever you have a home where they tell you you have aluminum wiring, is a single strand or multi-strand? And whatever the answer that they tell you, show me. For every single thing that you ever find in a home inspection report, you always need to tell the inspector, show me. I want to see. I need to see it and confirm it with your very own eyes. The next thing that we're going to talk about is roof deterioration. You know, the funny thing here is, and I'm going to go right back to this 4-point inspection form and go back to the roof section. This report here on the roof section asks us, before used to only ask you if the roof was watertight or not. But now look at what they ask you, any visible signs of damage / deterioration. And look what it asks you for: missing, loose, cracked tabs or tiles. Listen, can anyone ever name me a home, maybe other than new construction, that you've been a part of an inspection that doesn't have any cracked tiles? It's impossible. Cracked tiles occur, and cracked tiles occur not necessarily because there's a storm, it's because of pressure cleaning. The majority of cracked tiles occur when you are pressure cleaning, all right? Now, it is very important that whenever you get a 4-point inspection form, and you always ask the home inspector, is there anything on this inspection report that will prevent my clients from obtaining insurance? Why? Because little cracked towel like that costs nothing to glue it back to the other one with RT600 and help you get insurance. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to be caught with your pants down, okay? Because the moment that you just grab that 4-point, you don't look at it, and you submit it to the insurance company, you're at the mercy of the agent and the underwriter, okay? So that's why you need to look at that form, because guess what? Maybe that's $100 fix, something that you could very easily tell the listing agent, hey, look, there's cracked tiles on the roof. The inspector says we might not be able to get insurance. Do you think that you could get this fixed? And then we'll have the inspector come back and take some pictures, update the report, and then we'll send it to the insurance company. And that's the way that you want to work, because that's going to get you and the listing agent to the closing table. But if you just grab that report and you forward it to the insurance company, something so simple as cracked tiles or some missing shingles on a roof that costs less than $500 to fix, in most cases, it could prevent you from obtaining insurance. Okay, I'm almost done. I got 2 more left. Number 7, roof life expectancy. Now, the 4-point inspection form clearly asks you the amount of age that the roof has. Now, depending on the roof covering, like roofs have shingles get about 20 years, tiles about 25 to 30, metal roof 40 years. But here's the thing, In order for the home inspector to determine the age of the roof, they do it by looking at the roof permits. But what happens if there is no roof permit for the property? Then how are you supposed to determine the age of the roof? And that's where a lot of problems occur, because the home inspector would go to the roof section of the inspection report, and then here under covering material, he'll put what it is: roof age, unknown; remaining useful life, he'll put maybe, let's say 4 years, 5 years; date of last permit, unknown; date of last update, unknown. And listen, if there's anything on the 4-point that says unknown, the chances of your clients getting insurance is going to be unknown. We got that? If anything says unknown here, like for instance, under electrical section, year last updated, unknown; panel age, unknown; brand model, like if anything says unknown, the chances of your clients obtaining insurance is going to be unknown, 0. It's going to get kicked back. So what happens if there's no roof permits? Well, the home inspector is required to guess the age of the roof. So there he would put age of roof, 2010. He just has to look at it and basically guess. Remaining useful life. Here's a key nugget. In order for your clients to get insurance, the minimum remaining useful life on the 4-point needs to be a minimum of 4 years. So make sure that you look at that form and look at that remaining useful life and make sure it says 4 years. Because if it says 3, if it says 2, if it says 1 or 0, you are not going to be able to get insurance for your clients. So you have to take a look at this. You got to analyze this, because this is very, very critical. And you know what the thing about this form is? That this is already when you're already at the finish line. You probably already did the appraisal. You already got loans approved, contracts accepted, home inspection. From here, it's closing. And you do not want to encounter a big road bump at the end when you're at the finish line. All right.
Hey, yeah. So at that, Louis, make your final point, because we got to move on to the next topic here shortly, brother.
All right.
Thank you for an amazing session.
Absolutely. Number 8, plumbing updates. And Kevin, okay. Last one, plumbing updates. Galvanized plumbing. The 4-point inspection form clearly asks you for the age of the plumbing system. Now, would you consider a home built in 1997 to need the plumbing system updated? I wouldn't say so, right? Because you probably have copper, etc. But the thing about this form is that they are looking for updates in the last 20 years. So whenever you have a home that is older than 20 years old, and right here under supplemental information in the plumbing section, it says original to home, you are going to have a problem, and you probably will not be able to obtain insurance. It needs to say a minimum of partially repiped. So Louis, what you're telling me is that you have to repipe a complete home with if it's less than 20, if it's 23 years old. I'm not saying that, but this is what I am saying. If you're encountered with a situation with a home inspector where he puts that it's original, look at the bathroom. Is it the original shower? Did they remodel the bathroom? Well, if they did, hey, Mr. Inspector, don't you need to replace the valves, cut the valves, and replace the copper behind the sink, the vanity, when you're going to replace a vanity? Don't you have to, when you're going to replace, oh, look, I see that it's not the original shower faucet. Didn't you have to update the plumbing to replace that shower faucet that's there? And that's something that you could challenge. The same thing with the kitchen, et cetera, et cetera. And here's the deal. When you are doing these inspection reports, under supplemental information, it asks you the types of pipe. Check all that apply. It says copper, PVC, galvanized, PEX, polybutylene, and other. If you notice all of these pipes that the insurance company are suggesting in the multiple choice answer, they are supply pipes. Supply, meaning they give water. But if you see here, the inspector voluntarily put other and put cast iron sanitary piping. The inspector volunteered information that the insurance company was not asking for, because the only way that you could know the type of plumbing that the home has is by running a camera through the pipes to determine if you have cast iron or if you have PVC. So make sure that you do not see cast iron ever on one of your 4-point inspection reports with supplemental information.
Hey, Miss Sarah, right?
Hey, what's up? Because basically, The inspector is volunteering unnecessary information. So guys, this is it for me. I just want to say, give us a shot on your next inspection to Truview. I'd be more than happy, even if you have a second opinion on any of your inspection reports, I'm right here. We'd love to answer your questions. Make sure to review these forms. And if you have any more questions, whatever it is, I'm going to go ahead and put our contact information here in the chat button. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope you found this information valuable. Thank you very much, Kevin.